Absolutely. Good.
So we're 2 of the 6 beer farmers.
6, yeah.
There are 6 beer farmers.
Yeah.
We're the fat ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anybody that's seen us in the last 6 months know that we carry a parental advisory. The guy that says cunt a lot isn't here today, so that's good. But if you are under the age of 18, then we do swear a little bit, but we try and keep it relevant and in keeping with what we're talking about. So I said there were 6 members. Rarely, really, John turns up. He's Belgian. He's got a real hatred of the UK.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Rumors that he's Sandbox Escaper are not true.
We'll get to her in a bit, yeah. Chrissy Morgan, she's a recent addition to the team. Myself.
So, can I just tell a quick Chrissy story?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So, we were speculating in a fight between Jenny and Chrissy, which one would win. And what we felt is it would probably go to Jenny, but Chrissy doesn't fight fair, so she would shank her before even the fight started. So, jury's still out on that one.
We did actually have that conversation.
We did actually have that conversation, yeah, with the 2 cops that we tried to buy blow from.
Yeah. That also happened. Right, okay.
I need $4,000 in cash, Brian.
Sean is away in the US. He's at some kind of Amazon thing that he's doing. Not with Jeff Bezos, just some AWS tech thing. And Andy Gill, who's our hacker in residence, he's up in Scotland doing some personal stuff, so can't be with us today. But we're here to bring the fun and the burgers. So that's a little bit about who we are. Going to flick through. Yeah, I send a lot of emails to people. Ian sends a lot of emails to people.
Yeah, they put me in charge of somebody.
We're managers,
that was a bad
right?
idea.
Yeah, we manage things.
I'm mentoring.
And we,
so you see, you got to drink this pint this way.
Yeah. Okay. So we dropped this slide back in. Have a look. Glad it got a laugh. And you're laughing because it resonates with you. Yeah, it resonates with you. So Mark Zuckerberg, years and years ago, when Facebook was in its youth, said that he felt that privacy was a social norm of the past. And I think as time has progressed and as Facebook has matured, and they haven't really matured, right?
No, they're still doing some pretty shady stuff.
They're still doing some pretty shady stuff, yeah.
And it's interesting because they're very hypocritical, right? They've got their lawyer that's basically saying things like privacy is, a thing of the past. And then you got Mark asking for regulation of giant social media companies because they wield too much power, right? So you've got this weird dichotomy of opinions. I honestly think that, and I read this somewhere, it was some sort of thing about Mark and Facebook, and it's that the board would actually like to punt him, from the company. Yeah. And the board is actually talking about breaking up Facebook, really. And this is because this guy is just completely unrepentant about the full scale, I'm going to say assault on democracy, and as well as the full scale selling of all of this personal sensitive information.
Yeah, completely agree. Their lawyer, as Ian said, came out and said, well, users should not, of social media in general, should not have any expectation of privacy because they sign up to it fully in the knowledge that their data will be used in whatever way the platform chooses. But we don't read the T's and C's, and it should be more of we should be more conscious. Our eyes should be wide open when we're getting involved with these kind of guys because we're getting fucked.
There's so much anecdotal evidence that suggests that Facebook, especially when you log in with Facebook or if you have Facebook open and you're buying products and that kind of thing, that all of that data is being siphoned up and all of that data is being thrown back, to, Facebook to push ads to you. Right? To push ads. And also, and then I'm going to get a little political for a moment. Okay. In Ireland, it was just recently revealed that Facebook deliberately censored one voice in the abortion, issues in Ireland. That's obviously very divisive issue in Ireland, but Facebook made the deliberate choice to, quash ads for one side of the debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened. So we do this at every talk. Quick show of hands. Who's got a Facebook account? Yeah, quite a significant number in the room. Who deleted their Facebook account when they started to become more acutely aware of what this guy and his company were doing? A few people. Hashtag delete Facebook, right? Okay. It's interesting. Because the perception is that they're evil. Okay. And that's not a great look for any organization. They are continually trying to remove him from the top of the organization, but will that remove the ethics of that organization? I question that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a huge issue.
So they're getting kicked in the arse financially now. So I don't know if you read it, but recently they had to make a profit adjustment of around between 3 and 5 billion US dollars. And that's a fine that they're expecting to have to pay to the Federal Trade Commission over in the US. And that fine is against their privacy practice.
That's right. That's 100% right. There's another also issues before the European Court or Ireland court with regards to Facebook and its GDPR relationship. It is slowly moving its way through the courts. I can't like back this enough because I think it's dangerous to use this information in a really harmful way for a lot of people out there, and they're unaware that they're being manipulated. I mean, everyone here knows they're being manipulated because they're at B-sides, right? Yeah. So, but it's everyone else out there.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Okay. I forgot to mention at the start of the talk, actually. It's a vendor talk, this. Yeah. Because we like taking the piss and ridiculing vendors. Okay. That's the only reason it's a vendor talk.
Yeah, and that kind of happened to us because we did B-Sides London, and guess what? The Facebook recruiting desk was just outside of our talk. Awkward!
Yeah. We got away with it, I think.
Yeah. I think we got away.
I don't think any of them joined us in our talk. Maybe. Okay, who's this?
Oh, come on. You know this crazy guy.
Jack Dorsey, right?
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey is the Mark Zuckerberg of Twitter. Okay. And they appear to be lower key, really, when it comes to egregious privacy behaviour. They don't make the news quite as regularly as Facebook do. But they've got an average active user base of 330 million users, monthly users. And guess how many users got their data exposed in 2018? 330 million. Every single active user had their data exposed in a breach at Twitter. Or as Troy said in London, he had to correct me, it wasn't technically a breach, it was a backup that was created and left on the internet. And he's got that backup if they ever need it restoring.
Fair enough. I think the other thing that I want to just throw in about Twitter is the fact that a lot of, like, there's a bot problem on Twitter. It was revealed that Russians had set up a whole bunch of bots to tweet and retweet very divisive issues during the 2016 election. Yeah. Also via Brexit. Right. So one of the problems that we have, and it's actually an InfoSec problem too.
Yeah.
I mean, what has been your experience on Twitter, with some folks? Do we want to talk about Felonora or no?
Briefly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this, asshole, racist, misogynist decides to weigh in on an issue with my man Mike over there. And let's just say it didn't end well for him at all. I think this is a real problem that we have. If we want to have an inclusive group, what we need to do is stop polarizing it. That our biggest problem in InfoSec recruiting is not the number of people out there. It's the toxicity of this particular group of people. You don't have a whole bunch of accountants weighing on Twitter and smashing people down. Like, that doesn't happen. It doesn't really happen with nurses and doctors. But for some reason in InfoSec, we get to sit back and somebody with a new idea or whatever, and we just try to shout at them. And then that goes into this echo chamber that makes everybody feel super uncomfortable, right? Yeah. I mean, if you've ever asked a question on Stack Overflow as a young programmer, that experience is awful. In fact, can end in tears, right? Hashtag tears.
Yeah, all absolutely. Right. Yeah. Be nice to people. Don't be a dick. We'll come on to that in a little while. So we just want to have a little bit of a freestyle conversation about Google. Okay, so they can't be far away from the headlines, but they're not often in the headlines for the stuff that we just talked about. But they're every bit as bad as Facebook when it comes to your privacy. So Travis Ormandy, or Travis as we call him.
Travis.
Is a Project Zero researcher, and he was sitting on a vulnerability that he discovered in Microsoft Windows 10, I think it was. Yeah,
so TLDR, a Google researcher found how to break Windows. Really, honestly. That's what it was.
Yeah. So Project Zero's got a 90-day grace period before they'll go full disclosure. Got to day 91, and he went full disclosure. Despite the fact that Microsoft had said, we've got a fix for this, but we're not entirely sure of the integrity of the fix when it's deployed into production. We'd like a little bit more time. So we're not going to do it in this patch Tuesday. We're going to do it in that patch Tuesday.
And just to give you an example of this too, and this is where I think we could do a better job of getting the word out about these type of vulnerabilities. So in this case, it was like a corrupted certificate issue that basically it pooched one of the crypto services on your Windows box, which literally the fix restart that service. It didn't bring down the box. It was no remote code execution. It wasn't, it's kind of a 0 day, right? But like I said, there's plenty of ways that you can break a Windows box, right? Delete a bunch of registry keys, rename a bunch of DLLs. Like, so I'm like saying 91 days plus, and you're just basically a giant dick.
You are. And don't talk to me about a 0 day on Windows 10 when you've got a fleet, to use Travis's term, or the article's term. When you've got 50,000 Windows Server 2008 machines sat on the internet, okay, that's not 0 day, that's it's years, days, months, whatever. Fix that problem. 0 days are very novel, but actually in very few cases do they present a material problem to an organization. So I ran a poll on Twitter just saying, actually, it was a bit of a fight between Google and Microsoft. Who do you trust the least? And the answer was overwhelmingly people trust Google less than Microsoft. And I have a take on this, and the take is that I think that Microsoft are a more mature organization. They've been around a lot longer, okay? They've got clever engineering teams. They understand the idea of the software development lifecycle, and it's difficult. Rolling out a patch for a problem is not a thing that's done overnight. And I think they were responsible when they went back to Google and said, we need more time. Yeah,
with that certificate issue, it affected SQL installations, right? And bringing down SQL boxes is bad news. There's no question about that. But honestly, it's like how many SQL boxes are going to get, hit with this thing remotely over the internet? The answer is if your SQL boxes are on the internet, you have way more serious problems than a corrupted certificate.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So we always drop this one into talks. Basically, just to highlight the problem of the amount of data that is out there. And this is known data. So we think there are gazillions more records out there that we don't know about because they've not surfaced anywhere yet. But I find this really useful and impactful at work because when you look at it, you think, shit, I'm in here. But not in just one place. I'm here everywhere. Okay, Marriott being the example of Ian. Gold customer.
Gold.
All right.
We got to pick up the pace a little bit, but unhackable is my trigger word. Okay.
Our trigger word.
My favorite thing though was do you guys all see this on Twitter? The PC that is they took out a patent for unhackable PC. Yeah. It's actually filled with concrete and sadness. Okay. So, no, it's just that, like, they stop with the marketing department. Like, you as security leaders, you need to call them out. You need to call them out when they do shit like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. We have a lot of fun with this because we're good friends with pen test partners.
Yeah, let's be clear.
There is no commercial arrangement between the two organizations. They just do all of the good tech and we have fun with it, right?
Yeah, we're sort of like those dung beetles.
Yeah. All right, so there's a bit of a musical theme going on now because we're in Liverpool, which is the home of rock and roll as far as the UK is concerned. And there are some people doing good stuff. Okay, so passwords, it's a constant menace, really, in the InfoSec community and the industry at large. But they're here to stay for at least a long time. Yeah. So we've got to get clever about how we do password management and how we educate users around good password hygiene. We have to have the MFA debate. We talk about this regularly. So if you are a responsible organization and you can support MFA, then you should deploy it out to your user base.
Absolutely.
And if you want great advice as a user, take up that option of
and that have I been pawned API and warning for the domains. Like, who here's loving have I been pawned? Yeah? Yep. Awesome. Okay, cool. Who's really sad that it's probably going to be sold? Yeah, I know. What can we do, right? Although we had a really good chat with Troy about it, and I'm really like, hey Troy, why don't you just like donate it to the EFF or something like that, right?
I said I'd give him 50 quid for it.
Yeah.
He said no. Okay. As professionals, we're not perfect. As organizations, we're not perfect. We do make mistakes. We do issue buggy code, and that happens all the time. But tell companies about it responsibly. Okay, we're going to move on to that in a little bit more detail in the time we've got left. But if you do get told you've got a problem with your software and the risk is severe, then fix it. Okay, it's incumbent on you to fix a problem that somebody has been responsible enough to tell you about and not just hack you and nick your data and stick it all on pastebin.
Yeah, ignoring the problem doesn't make it go away. Trust me.
No, it doesn't. Test and fix your stuff. So again, have conversations with people that build things. And if you're in security, have those adult conversations up front with them. Get them baking stuff in early doors. Okay? There's no excuse, really. We are, as security professionals, in the front seat of technology. We're not the afterthought or the guys that get on the last stop just before that buggy code's been released into the wild. We should be there at the beginning having those conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to echo Josh Corman, who basically said, we have a 100% failure rate in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
100%. Like almost every major company has been breached at some point. Yeah. This becomes really important. It's an iterative process. Security is recursive, right? Because your environment's always changing. New stuff's coming in, old stuff's going out. It's always changing. It's recursive. And you'll learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. And you're here because you want to get involved with the community. That's the whole thing about B-Sides, is it's not vendor heavy. It's about people that feel the same way, getting together and talking and sharing their problems and learning new things. So, long live B-Sides. Okay. You see what I did there? Yeah, good. So, a breach is a when, not an if. Actually, many people in this room will already or will work for organizations who've already had their data breached. Okay? Just get over it and deal with it. Okay? Because it'll feel like that. A bit more music. Manchester, that's where I come from. You will panic. Yeah. And it'll feel like the end of the world. And it'll feel like that in your head because we all mess up. But actually, what we're defined by is our response. Okay? So a good data breach response actually results in people having more trust in your organization, which is a bit of a paradox, but that's true.
I'll ask the Andy question right here. Andy, going out to our brother. Andy always likes to ask this question. Who heard of the Equifax data breach?
Sean, not Andy.
Oh, is it Sean? I'm shit with names.
You mix them up at London.
Yeah. Like our Fred, our tour manager. Anyways, yeah. So Equifax, almost everybody has heard of it, right? And it's the breach that keeps on giving. Right, too, because they just got their credit downgraded recently as well, right? Who heard of Discuss data breach? Few people, way less people, right? Because they handled their shit. They went out, they said, we got a problem, we've fixed it, we've isolated the problem, we want you to do this. Thank you very much. If you have any concerns, here's where you can contact us. Yeah. This is not rocket science. It's going to happen.
Equifax made page 1 of the news, or front page of the news. It made the 6 o'clock news. Discuss was on page 17.
It got their executives dragged into Congress to testify about what assholes they are.
Yeah, agreed. So when it happens, you really just got to accept it. That's your start point. It's about admitting you've got a problem, okay? And then you can start dealing with it, moving on in a positive fashion. Don't blame the other guy because your control failed that led the other guy to steal your data. Okay, that's the bottom line. Argue with me outside if you'd like to. Get support. So in the UK, we've got some pretty powerful bodies. We've got the NCSC, who are a lot better than they used to be, it's fair to say. And they've got some clever people and capable people that will come and actually offer you computer emergency stuff. You've got to tell the ICO in the UK, it's horrible if you don't. Okay, they are the supervisory body when it comes to data protection in the UK. But again, if you tell them, they can parachute people in. And they're clever people. And then come and help you with things like your incident response planning, notifying your users, all that kind of stuff.
Or if you've got heavy duty risk, I mean, there's more than a few awesome security companies here in the UK, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent out there. I think, sometimes businesses want to keep it, on the DL as much as possible, may not want to go out to the police right away because they don't know what's going on. There's great talent here in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. And analyze the problem, figure out where that control broke or fell over. Yeah. Was it something in your SDLC? Was there something not baked in at design time? Yeah. Were architectural decisions not taken that were correct?
Did someone turn off security on their S3 bucket until it worked?
Yeah.
Oops.
A common problem and learn from it. Yeah. And ultimately, just take it on the chin because you can't undo what has happened. But what you can do is your very level best to prevent it from happening again. And if you do that, trust will come back in the case of Discuss. A good example of that is Norsk Hydro. So they had a really serious problem. I think it was a ransomware attack. Their entire business was taken offline. They're a huge aluminium manufacturer. And they had people like from all over the business pulling together, no matter whether they were senior executives or whatever. They were doing everything they could to manually continue that company's operation. But what they did was they responded really well. So their IT systems were down, but what they did was set up Azure websites that kept the flow of information to customers and shareholders and people that cared flowing nicely. A bit Heath Robinson, but it's better than nothing. And actually, it demonstrated that they gave a shit. Okay.
So in a very similar case, our friends back at Google were involved. I think it might have actually been this one where the business started to set up a whole bunch of Google accounts and basically Google turned off. So they're in the middle of a crisis. Google turned off their accounts because they had too many accounts and they felt it was business. So they turned them off and demanded a bunch of payment.
Yeah.
Absolute dicks.
Talking of which. Okay.
I'm going to do this one quick.
Do quick, yeah.
Okay, so Sandbox Escaper, we know, very angry individual. It appears that she was under investigation. It really moves me. This is like the saddest moment in vulnerability disclosure where somebody's been kicked around so much, has maybe mental issues, mental problems, very angry at the world and is trying to call out intelligence agencies, justice and law enforcement and dropping like 0 day after 0 day, and threatening to sell it to the enemies of the United States. So, you know, my heart goes out to people that get so angry and so lonely that they do stuff like that because they're looking for, suicide by Air Force at that point. We all know what happened to Trick, a gentleman from Birmingham, here, and he got vaporized by a predator, due to his, belief in building the cyber caliphate and conducting cybersecurity attacks, right? Ransomware attacks specifically. So, you know, it's sad when we lose people like that who I kind of feel like if they had just reached out, you know, it's not the end of the world, man. There's a lot of stuff you can do and there's a lot of money you could make as well too, being that talented. And certainly the skill set's there. I
agree. And I think there is a long journey between responsible disclosure back to Microsoft and sticking it all out on a paste. Okay. I do believe there are things that you can do that are in the middle ground there. So, yeah, we'll see. Going back to Unhackable, don't make false claims about the unhackability of your technology. If you think it's unhackable, then just think it's unhackable. Don't ever tell anybody it's unhackable.
Mike's rule number one.
Because we know that there are people out there that are very cleverer than you, and not you in your unhackable tower, that will destroy that unhackable status in a matter of days, and that's if you're lucky. Okay. Be incredibly careful about the idea of dropping personal data on security researchers onto Twitter if they would rather that their privacy and anonymity was preserved in one way. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Brian. Kevin.
Brian and Kev. Good friends. And have a bit of respect. You know, you're all here because you're cool. Yeah, I think so. We've all got anxieties. I have things that keep me awake around security. But I respect that others have got their own opinions and their own skill sets and their own knowledge areas. And you wouldn't be here, really. I don't think you wouldn't be in this room and in this conference if you didn't care. You didn't give a shit. Right, pop quiz. Can anybody tell me why I've put that picture on that slide? Nobody can tell me, and I'm in Liverpool. Wow. Sorry? Fantastic. So, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark are a Liverpool-based electro pop band from the late 70s, and I think they're still operating even today. They had a hit called Enola Gay. The analogy here is that they all thought it was a great idea, but what the Enola Gay did was vaporize 144,000 people in Hiroshima in August 1945. Okay. And I don't know how we did it, but we did it.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done.
That's
so
it.
Thanks very much.
I know you were looking for a crescendo, but no, we're out. We'll see you at the bar, y'all.